A young millionaire running late for an important meeting saw a beggar with a baby in the rain. Without thinking, he gave her the keys to his house. When he returned, he entered without knocking and was horrified by what he saw. On a bustling day in Boston, Adam walked through the hall of one of the country's most prestigious architecture events. Around him, the splendor of the setting vividly contrasted with the true purpose of the evening. Though wrapped in glamour and sophistication, the event had a charitable aim: to raise funds for affordable housing projects. Renowned architects, including Adam, had donated their designs to help turn these plans into tangible realities, providing the elite with an opportunity to significantly contribute to society, even if for some it was just another chance to showcase their status. Adam, known for his exceptional talent, stood out as much as the works he created. Despite his evident success, there were whispers about recent changes in his behavior, marked by the tragic loss of his young wife in an accident and the responsibility of caring for his ill father. Some considered him distant and reserved, but those who understood the hardships of life saw his demeanor as a way to cope with adversity. During the event, Adam met Lillian, a legendary figure in the world of architecture, admired for her extensive experience and numerous achievements. "Adam, it's always impressive to see you here," she said, watching him intently. "I heard that besides your intense work, you've been dedicating time to caring for your father. That's really commendable." He responded with a polite smile and a nod, though he felt out of place in the environment of facades and frivolities. Sensing his discomfort, Lillian remarked, "These events often feel superficial, but sometimes they surprise us. What really brought you here today, Adam? It doesn't seem to be just for the contacts." Adam smiled sadly. "I'm here more out of obligation than desire. My life has never revolved solely around architecture. It was shaped by far deeper experiences and the lessons I learned from my father." He paused, his thoughts drifting to challenging times. "My father, despite facing many difficulties, always found ways to help others. He was a simple man, but with a big heart. He raised me alone, and every sacrifice he made became a valuable lesson for me." Lillian listened intently, her face expressing deep respect. "It's rare to find someone who preserves those values, especially someone with the success you've achieved. Your father must be an incredible man." "He truly is," Adam replied, a glint of pride in his eyes. "He did a bit of everything to support us, from fixing things for neighbors to giving private lessons. He always said that a man's greatest wealth is not in what he owns, but in what he can offer to others." Lillian nodded, understanding the depth of Adam's words. "That explains a lot about who you are, Adam, and how you conduct your life and career. Many here could learn from that." Adam smiled, thanking Lillian. "I just try to live in a way that would make my father proud. He taught me that the true architecture of life is in building bridges between people, creating spaces of understanding and support." Lillian smiled with genuine admiration. She too had started life simply, studied hard, and reached one of the highest levels in her profession. But despite all this, there was a sadness in her eyes, as she had not started a family and kept that part of her life very private. After leaving the architecture event, Adam drove home, a place that had become more of a sanctuary than just a living space. Upon arrival, he found his father, now living with him due to his illness, watching a nighttime program. Despite the health challenges, Mr. Robert maintained a vibrant spirit and an active mind. "How was the event, son?" he asked with an interested look. "Did they raise a good amount?" "It went very well, despite the atmosphere of people who think they are gods because of their money. It was a success. I even talked to Lillian about the importance of our work to society," Adam replied, sitting next to his father. After the conversation, Adam stood up and headed to the kitchen. "I'll prepare something for us to eat. Do you want anything specific?" he called over his shoulder. "Anything is fine, son. Don't go to too much trouble on my account," his father replied with a grateful smile. Later, while helping his father settle in for the night, Adam mentioned his plans for the next day. "Dad, tomorrow morning I have to travel for that meeting about the new project. I'll leave everything organized here, and Mrs. Martinez promised to check on you." His father, settling comfortably in bed, looked at him tenderly. "You're a good son, Adam. Go and do what you need to do. I'm proud of you." Mr. Robert had faced numerous hardships in the past. After Adam's mother abandoned them, he took on the enormous responsibility of raising him alone. Despite financial adversities, he always prioritized Adam's education, firmly believing it was the pathway to a better future. All the money he earned was invested in his son's education. With determination and dedication, Adam seized every learning opportunity, transforming into the renowned architect he is today. Even after achieving success, he never forgot the struggles and sacrifices of his father, staying by his side and caring for him with the same love and gratitude he received in his childhood. The following morning, Adam woke up early, preparing for the significant day ahead. He dressed meticulously, choosing an elegant suit appropriate for the crucial meeting in a neighboring city. Before leaving, he called the man he was scheduled to meet. "Good morning, Mr. Connor. I'm leaving now and will be there shortly," said Adam, confirming his plans. As he headed to the car, a torrential rain began to fall. The driver, already familiar with Adam's route and habits, waited. "It looks like we'll be facing some tough weather on the road, Mr. Adam," the driver remarked upon seeing him approach. Traffic in the neighboring city was chaotic due to the intense rain. Adam's car moved slowly through the congested road. He watched the rain hitting the window, lost in thoughts about the meeting when a scene on the roadside caught his attention. A woman, clearly homeless, held a newborn baby, desperately trying to protect it from the relentless rain. It was an image of despair and vulnerability that deeply touched Adam's heart. Without hesitation, Adam told the driver, "Please stop the car. I need to help that woman." The driver, knowing Adam's compassion for people in need, cautioned, "But Mr. Adam, you'll get wet and ruin your suit, and we still have a meeting to get to." Adam, determined, replied, "I don't care about the suit or being late. That woman and her baby need help now." He opened the car door and stepped out, facing the pouring rain. Approaching the woman, he asked, "Can I help you? You and your baby can't stay out here in this rain. Do you have somewhere to go? A home?" The woman, still surprised and shielding her daughter from the rain, quickly responded, "No, we have nowhere to go." But she did not elaborate on her situation. Adam felt an urgency to act. Without hesitation, he ran back to the car under the pouring rain and asked the driver to open the glove compartment. From there, he took out a bunch of keys. Returning to the woman, he briefly introduced himself and asked, "What's your name?" "Stella," she replied, holding her daughter closer to protect her from the rain. "Stella, this is the key to my father's house. It's nearby. He's living with me for now, so the house is empty." "You can stay there with your daughter," said Adam, extending the bunch of keys to her. "I need to go now because I'm late for a meeting, but my driver will take you there." After handing the keys to Stella, Adam quickly returned to the car. Already soaked by the rain, he informed the driver, "I'll walk to the meeting. Please take Stella and the child to my father's house. It's just down the road. And stop at the market. Buy whatever they need, food, clothes, diapers, anything." The driver, accustomed to Adam's acts of kindness, promptly nodded. "Of course, Mr. Adam, I'll take care of everything." Adam's driver, after saying goodbye to him, returned to where Stella was sheltered from the rain with her daughter. Approaching her, he kindly said, "Come on, don't worry. I'll take you to a safe place. Mr. Adam wants to help you and your daughter." Stella, however, looked at the driver with a mix of fear and mistrust. "I don't know you. I've seen on TV what can happen. I can't just trust like that," she said, clutching her daughter to her chest. The driver, understanding her hesitation, tried to reassure her. "I understand your fear, but I assure you Mr. Adam is a good-hearted man. He just wants to help." To demonstrate his sincerity, he opened his wallet and showed some photos of his own family. "Look, I'm also a father. I've been working with Mr. Adam for years. He's a man who truly cares about others." Stella observed the photos and the sincere expression of the driver. Still cautious, but feeling that this might be a real opportunity for shelter and safety, she finally agreed to go with him. Carefully, she got into the car, protecting her daughter from the rain, while the driver took care of driving them to Adam's father's house. But first, they stopped at a market to buy food and diapers for the baby. In the late afternoon, after a long and productive meeting, Adam exited the building to find his driver waiting for him. As soon as he entered the car, Adam asked, "How did it go with Stella and the child? Did they arrive safely at my father's house?" The driver answered, "Yes, Mr. Adam, but I left her at the beginning of the street. I thought it would be easier to maneuver the car." Adam, a bit surprised by the driver's decision, gently reprimanded him. "You should have left her at the front door, especially with this rain and with a small child." He paused for a moment, reflecting. "But it's okay. It was a busy day for all of us. I'll stop by tomorrow to see how they are doing and make sure they have everything they need," Adam continued, as he looked out the car window, thoughtful. Concern for Stella and her daughter occupied his mind, but he felt he had made the right choice in helping them. Upon arriving home, Adam had barely opened the door when he was greeted by Mrs. Rose, who looked after his father in his absence. She seemed to have unexpected news to share. "Mr. Adam, your father, Mr. Robert, took a copy of the keys to his house and went there as soon as you left. He said he wanted to spend a few days there. He was feeling bored and a bit better," she informed him, somewhat hesitantly. Adam was surprised by the news. "He went alone, but he knows he shouldn't have," Adam began, concerned about his father's health and safety. Mrs. Rose interrupted. "Yes, he went alone. He said he waited for you to travel because he knew you wouldn't let him go like that. He seemed determined and said he felt well enough to stay alone for a few days." Hearing about his father's sudden decision to go to the other house, where Stella and her daughter were sheltered, Adam immediately thought of the possible complications. Without hesitation, he asked the driver to take him there urgently. As the car sped through the streets, worry grew in his chest. Arriving at the house, Adam saw the door open and an ambulance parked outside. His heart raced as he saw his father being carried out on a stretcher. Adam ran inside, overwhelmed with panic, trying to understand what was happening. He approached the paramedics and introduced himself. "I am his son. What happened?" The doctor, looking at Adam, calmly explained, "Your father had a stroke. Fortunately, your wife was here and acted quickly, calling the ambulance. She saved his life." Adam felt a whirlwind of emotions. Relief that his father was alive, gratitude that Stella had been there, and a profound scare about what could have happened. He followed the stretcher to the ambulance, determined to be by his father's side during this critical moment. Still shaken, he watched as the doctor took his father to the ambulance. As soon as the vehicle headed for the hospital, he turned back to the house, looking for Stella and her daughter. Adam approached Stella and her daughter. He tried to control his nervousness after the scare with his father, but concern was still evident on his face. "Stella, I don't know how to thank you for everything you've done." "The doctor thought you were my wife," said Adam, trying to ease the tension of the moment with a slight smile. Stella, realizing the seriousness of the situation, responded in a soft tone. "There's nothing to thank me for, Mr. Adam. I did what anyone would do. I was in the right place at the right time." Adam noticed the purchases she had made, observing that they were only basic items. "I see you've only bought the essentials. You could have taken more, you know. You don't need to limit yourself," he commented, worried whether she had everything she needed. Stella looked at him, a mix of gratitude and hesitation in her eyes. "I didn't want to take advantage of your generosity. You've already done so much for us." There was a moment of silence, during which Adam felt a deep connection with Stella. "Stella, I would really like to know more about you and your daughter. How did you come to be in this situation? If you're willing to share, I would like to hear," said Adam, expressing his genuine desire to understand and help. Stella sighed, appearing to decide whether to open her heart. She looked at her daughter, then at Adam, and began to speak. "I never knew my mother," she began, "and I grew up with a father who was more like a stranger. He drank too much and barely noticed my presence." Adam listened attentively, sensing the strength in her words. "I wanted to study, you know. But my father, he never allowed it. I read in secret after he was asleep, dreaming of a better future." Stella paused, recalling those moments. "Time passed, and life only got worse. My father got deeper into drinking, and I tried to help but couldn't. He was a harsh man who mostly scared me until one day I met someone," she continued. "He seemed perfect, kind. We were together for a while until I got pregnant. At that moment I was very scared, but thought I would finally have a family." Stella sighed, the pain evident in her voice. "But he abandoned me as soon as he found out about the pregnancy. He disappeared and I never heard from him again. I managed to hide the pregnancy for a while, but when my father found out..." Stella hesitated. "He was furious. He didn't let me explain. I was thrown out of the house with nothing." "How did you survive?" asked Adam, his voice laden with concern. "I begged for money, lived on the streets, and when my daughter was born, it was the homeless who helped me. I was scared, wary of everything and everyone, but I had to be strong for my daughter." Adam looked at Stella, seeing not just the pain and fear in her expression, but also an incredible strength. "You are incredibly strong, Stella. Your story, it's one of immense struggle." Stella smiled sadly. "I had no choice. Life wasn't kind, but I couldn't give up. For my daughter, I would face everything all over again. I don't know how to thank you for all this, she continued, her voice choked with emotion. When I saw all your father's books, I felt like I was in heaven. I love to read, but I've never had the chance to access so many books. Adam smiled gently. You can read all you want, Stella. Consider them yours as well. As he prepared to leave, Adam turned to Stella, extending an envelope. Here's something to help with expenses, he said softly. Stella looked at the envelope, noticing the heft of the paper. She cautiously opened it, her eyes widening at the amount of money inside. Adam, this is too much. I can't accept all of this, she stammered, her voice trembling. Please accept it, Adam insisted with an encouraging smile. You need this more than I do. Buy clothes, food, everything you and your baby need. Tears welled up in Stella's eyes. I don't even know how to thank you. You're giving me more than help. You're giving me hope. There was a moment of silence during which Stella observed Adam, a thought emerging in her mind. May I ask, are you married, Adam? Adam sighed, a shadow passing over his face. I was, he began. My wife, she died in an accident just a month after our wedding. That was 3 years ago. Stella covered her mouth with her hand, surprised and saddened by the revelation. I'm so sorry, Adam. I had no idea. He shook his head slightly. It's okay. It was hard, but I've learned to live with it. The pain never completely goes away, but we learn to move on, don't we? Stella nodded, feeling an unexpected connection with Adam through their shared experiences of loss and struggle. Adam stood up, picking up his keys. Well, I need to go now, but please make yourself at home here. And if you need anything at all, give me a call. Thank you, Adam, said Stella sincerely, for everything. He nodded, a sad smile on his lips. Take care, Stella, and remember you're not alone. With those words, he left, leaving Stella sitting, enveloped in a mix of gratitude, hope, and a newfound feeling of not being so isolated in the world anymore. Adam returned to his home, his mind full of thoughts about his meeting with Stella and her story. The next day, he visited his father in the hospital. His father was in stable condition but still required constant care. Sitting beside the hospital bed, Adam began to tell about Stella and her daughter, detailing the day he fell ill and how she had called the doctor and saved Mr. Robert, and also how difficult her life had been. Adam's father listened attentively, his face showing signs of emotion. You did a very good thing, son. Stella seems like an incredible and courageous woman, he said with a weak but proud voice. It's good to see that you've grown up to be a man with a kind heart. I thank God for not abandoning me when I asked for the strength to raise you alone. There was a moment of comfortable silence between them, each lost in their thoughts. Then Adam's father, looking thoughtful, spoke again. Don't you think it would be better to bring Stella and the baby to live closer to us? They could stay at our house. I would like to have more life around, and you wouldn't need to travel so much to see them. Adam considered the suggestion. The idea of bringing Stella and her daughter closer seemed welcoming, and the prospect of his father having more company at home was also appealing. That's a good idea, Dad. I'll talk to Stella about it. I think their presence would bring more joy to our home. Adam's father smiled, excited by the possibility. It would be wonderful to have a child around the house. It's always so quiet when you're working. With this new idea in mind, Adam said goodbye to his father, promising to seriously consider the proposal and discuss it with Stella. He left the hospital feeling hopeful, thinking about the possibilities the future might bring for them all. After a long day of work on a major project, Adam was exhausted but determined. He drove to the house where Stella was staying, thinking about the proposal he had in mind. Upon arrival, he found Stella tidying some things in the living room, with the baby playing quietly on the floor. Stella, I have something important to discuss with you, Adam began, sitting down near her. Stella looked at him, curious. What happened, Adam? He took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. My house, it's big, and since my father fell ill, it has been very quiet. He loves reading, and I thought since you also like it, you could keep each other company. Moreover, he could help you with your studies if you want. Stella appeared surprised by the proposal. You mean, live in your house, me and my daughter? Yes, Adam affirmed. It would be amazing to have you and your baby there. I think your presence could be good for my dad. He would feel less lonely and you would have a safe place to stay, plus access to all the books you could ever want. Stella was silent for a moment, clearly pondering the offer. That would be amazing, Adam. I don't know how to thank you. It would be a great help for me and my daughter, and I would love to be able to study more. Adam smiled, relieved and happy with her response. Then it's decided. Let's do this. I believe it will be good for all of us. With a smile of gratitude, Stella accepted the offer and quickly began gathering her and her daughter's belongings. Once they finished, they returned to Adam's house, her heart filled with hope for the chance to study and make something of herself. As they entered the house, Stella couldn't hide her surprise. "Wow, Adam, your house is incredible. You are truly a talented architect," she exclaimed, looking around in admiration. Adam smiled, appreciative. "Thank you, Stella. I hope you and your daughter feel comfortable here." In the days that followed, the relationship between Stella and Mr. Robert, Adam's father, grew increasingly close. He had a vast collection of books, and with great enthusiasm he began to show Stella those he considered most interesting. Mr. Robert picked up an old book and said, "This one was one of my favorites when I was younger. I think you'll like it." Stella took the book, flipping through its yellowed pages. "It looks fascinating. Thank you for sharing this with me, Mr. Robert." Noticing the special connection forming between them and Stella's dedication, Adam decided to let go of his father's caretaker. Stella had insisted on taking care of Mr. Robert when Adam was not home. She looked after him with a mix of respect and affection, and Mr. Robert greatly appreciated her and her daughter's company. Stella often emphasized how much she enjoyed her new life. "I really like taking care of your father, Adam. He has been so kind to me and my daughter. It's the least I can do." Adam thanked her with a nod. "You're already part of the family, Stella. My father and I are very grateful to have you and your daughter here." As Stella settled into Adam's house, he made sure to offer her not just a home but also financial independence. One day, while they were talking in the kitchen, Adam brought up the subject. "Stella, I've been thinking," Adam began. "I'd like to pay you a salary. You've been incredible taking care of my father and the house, and I think it's important that you have your own income." Stella, surprised, looked at him. "Adam, that's not necessary. You're already providing a home and everything my daughter and I need." "I know, but it's important to me that you feel free and independent," Adam insisted. "I want you to be able to buy what you need for yourself and your daughter without having to ask." Stella looked at Adam, her eyes reflecting a mix of gratitude and melancholy. "You have no idea how much your words mean to me," she began, her voice trembling with the emotional weight of years of repression. "For so long, my life was dictated by others, always someone telling me what I could or couldn't do, where I could go, how I should live. Being treated anyhow, unable to make my own decisions. This freedom you're offering is something I hardly dared dream of anymore." Adam listened attentively, his expression a mix of understanding and encouragement. He leaned forward, capturing Stella's gaze. "I see your strength, Stella, and I believe in you more than you do at this moment. You're capable of much more than you imagine, and it's time for you to start exploring that. It's not just about buying things, but about you taking control of your life. Independence starts with small steps, and each decision you make is another brick in the path of your new journey." Stella sighed, absorbing Adam's words. "I've always been afraid," she confessed, "afraid of making mistakes, afraid of making choices because I was conditioned to think I was not capable. Every decision I didn't make was a way to keep me trapped, dependent. But you're right, maybe this is how I start to feel truly free." Adam nodded, encouraging her to continue. "Exactly, Stella, and don't think you have to do everything alone. I'm here to support you, but the final decision will always be yours. Think of this as an opportunity to rediscover who you are, to explore what you truly like, what you want for your life and for your daughter." "I want that, I really do," said Stella. "I want my daughter to see me as an example of strength and independence, not dependency. I want her to grow up knowing she can make her own decisions without fear. Adam, thank you for believing in me." Adam smiled, pleased to see determination growing in Stella. "Then let's get started. How about we plan some initial goals together? Small things like opening your own bank account or simply choosing something you've always wanted to buy for yourself and your daughter. Let's make each choice a step towards your complete independence." From that moment, Stella began to receive a regular salary from Adam. For the first time in years, she felt what it was like to have financial autonomy. She could buy clothes for her daughter, pick out new books to read, and even save money for the future without feeling dependent or needing to ask for permission. Over time, the relationship between Adam and Stella became more intimate and affectionate. Adam loved spending time with Hannah, Stella's baby, and they often went out for walks together. During these moments, Adam shared his passion for architecture with Stella, and she was genuinely interested, soaking up every word. Stella also dedicated herself to reading the books Adam recommended, deepening the connection between them even further. The affection they shared began to evolve into something more profound. In her heart, Stella felt herself falling in love with Adam, but she kept her feelings to herself, unsure of how to proceed. One day, Adam found himself discussing his feelings with his father. Sitting on the porch watching the sunset, Adam confided, "Dad, I think I'm falling in love with Stella. It's the first time in years I've felt this way, but I don't know what to do." Adam's father, with an understanding smile, looked at him and said, "Son, life is too short for hesitations. If you feel this way about Stella, you should tell her. You deserve to be happy." Adam pondered his father's words. "Do you really think so? What if she doesn't feel the same?" "You'll never know unless you try. And from what I see, the way she looks at you says a lot," his father encouraged. Inspired by his father's advice, Adam decided he would talk to Stella. He wanted to express his feelings and find out if the affection he felt was reciprocated. With a mix of nervousness and hope, he planned how he would approach the subject with Stella, wishing more than anything that she shared his feelings. That night, after putting Hannah to bed, Stella sat in the living room reading when Adam approached her. He sat down beside her, his heart pounding. The comfortable silence was broken by his soft, yet hesitant voice. "Stella, can I talk to you about something important?" Adam started, looking into her eyes. Stella set her book aside and turned toward him, an attentive expression on her face. "Of course, Adam. What's going on?" Adam took a deep breath, gathering courage. "I've been feeling something more for you lately, more than just friendship. You've brought new light into my life and this home. I care about you and Hannah more than I imagined I would." Stella's heart raced, surprised and moved by his words. "Adam, I feel something for you too. You've been incredible to us," she responded, her voice quivering. Adam took her hand. "Stella, I want to be here for you. Not just as a friend, but as someone who truly cares. I would love to be a part of Hannah's life, to care for her as if she were my own daughter." Stella felt tears forming in her eyes, touched by Adam's sincerity. "That means so much to me. Hannah and we already see you as part of our family." From that night on, the relationship between Adam and Stella flourished. As Stella began attending social and professional events with Adam, reactions from people varied. There were malicious comments circulating, some referring to Stella disparagingly as the beggar Adam took in. At various places, people looked at them with disdain, whispering among themselves. However, Adam remained indifferent to these judgments, always by Stella's side, who felt increasingly confident and secure with him. At one of these events, an elegant cocktail party at an art gallery, Mrs. Lillian, a well-known figure in Adam's social circle, approached the couple. With a polite smile, she greeted them. "Adam, Stella, it's a pleasure to see you here. I've heard about your relationship and I want to congratulate you," she said, maintaining a cordial demeanor. Stella thanked her, a bit tense under Lillian's scrutinizing gaze. There was something about the way Lillian watched her that made Stella uncomfortable, but she maintained her composure. Lillian continued, still with her piercing gaze fixed on Stella. "It's always a pleasant surprise to see new faces at our events. Stella, you have a very unique air about you." "Thank you, Mrs. Lillian," replied Stella politely. Before I forget, I'd like to invite you both to a dinner at my house next week." "It would be a pleasure to have you," Lillian said, looking at both of them. Adam hesitated for a moment, feeling a certain moral obligation to accept the invitation, though not particularly excited about the idea. He exchanged a quick look with Stella, seeking her silent opinion before responding. "We would be pleased, Mrs. Lillian. We accept the invitation," said Adam, offering a polite smile. Lillian seemed satisfied with the response. "Great, I'm looking forward to having you. It will be a delightful evening. Until then," she said, before moving away, leaving Adam and Stella alone again. As soon as she left, Adam looked at Stella. "Sorry, I thought we should accept. I hope that's okay with you," he commented, a bit concerned. Stella nodded, supporting his decision. "It's okay, Adam. I think it will be an interesting experience." she replied, trying to sound optimistic. Together, they continued to enjoy the event, though the prospect of the dinner at Lillian's house lingered in their minds, mixing feelings of curiosity and caution. The day of the dinner at Mrs. Lillian's house arrived, and Adam and Stella prepared for the occasion. Upon arrival, they were impressed by the beauty and grandeur of the house. It was evident that Lillian was a renowned architect. Every detail of the decoration was carefully planned and executed with perfection. The aesthetics were impeccable, blending modern and classic art in a harmonious way. As they entered, Lillian welcomed them warmly and invited them to sit down. Stella, while admiring the interior, couldn't help but notice a certain emptiness in the atmosphere. Despite the beauty, the house seemed to lack warmth and coziness. Lillian lived alone in that huge mansion, and the space didn't convey the feeling of a happy home. "What a beautiful house, Mrs. Lillian," commented Stella, trying not to show her perception of the place's atmosphere. "Thank you, Stella. I've put a lot of effort into every detail," replied Lillian with a smile of pride. Lillian watched Stella attentively, an enigmatic look on her face. At one point, she began to talk about her personal life, revealing details of a difficult past. She mentioned how life had been unfair to her in her youth, leaving Adam and Stella puzzled about the purpose of the conversation. Adam, sensing there was something deeper behind Lillian's words, asked her to be more explicit. "Mrs. Lillian, sorry, but I'm a bit confused. Can you explain why you invited us to dinner tonight?" Lillian sighed deeply, as if gathering courage, and stood up to get a photo album. Returning, she opened the album and showed a picture of herself from many years ago, visibly pregnant. Adam and Stella looked at the photo, still not understanding the context. "Where is the child?" asked Adam, trying to connect the dots. Lillian, with tears in her eyes, looked directly at Stella. "The child, she's here. It's you, Stella." Adam and Stella were shocked by the revelation. Stella looked at the photo and then at Lillian, trying to process the magnitude of those words. I'm your daughter?" asked Stella, her voice trembling with emotion. The revelation that she was Stella's mother was a bombshell, leaving everyone at the table in a state of shock. Adam, confused, expressed his disbelief. "This seems impossible, Lillian. Stella never knew her mother. How can you be sure that she is your daughter?" Stella, still trying to process the situation, looked alternately at Adam and Lillian, unable to formulate words. The idea that the woman sitting across from her could be her mother was something she had never imagined. Lillian, with tears welling up in her eyes, began to tell her story. "When I was young, I met Stella's father. He seemed like a good man, despite his problems with drinking. We were together and I became pregnant. But after Stella was born, he changed. He became aggressive, and on the day we left the hospital, he took her away. He disappeared without a trace." Everyone at the table listened in silence as Lillian continued. "I tried everything to find her. I hired investigators, spent fortunes, but it was as if they had evaporated. There were no traces, no clues that could lead me to my daughter." Stella, absorbing every word, felt a mix of emotions. Anger at her mother's absence in her life fought against understanding the pain and desperation that Lillian had gone through. "So, the man who raised me, he stole me from you?" asked Stella, her voice quivering with the magnitude of that revelation. Lillian nodded, tears now freely flowing. "Yes, Stella, he took the greatest treasure of my life away from me, and I spent all these years looking for you." Feeling the tension of the conversation, Stella, still stunned by the revelation, looked directly at Lillian and asked, "How can you be so sure that I am your daughter? Why only now?" Lillian, with a look of relief mixed with pain, answered, "When I first saw you at the event with Adam, something stirred inside me, a premonition I couldn't ignore. You have a mark on your hand, exactly like mine. That was the last physical sign I remembered of you." Lillian continued, her voice choked with emotion. "After that day, I asked an investigator, who I've worked with for years, to find out everything about you. The pieces began to fit together. He finally found your father. He was drunk on a street, a shadow of the man I once knew. The investigator approached him, offering to buy more drinks, and that's when he managed to get your father to talk. That's how he confessed everything, telling the truth about how he took you from me. The fact that you never went to school, him not working officially to stay hidden. He hadn't even made your documents. He was completely out of his mind, living in hiding, trying to erase any trace that could lead back to me." Stella listened in silence, absorbing every word, every detail. It was as if a veil was being slowly lifted from her life, revealing hidden truths she never imagined were possible. "He led a life of hiding, afraid of being found, and he kept me in that shadow with him," said Stella, understanding the magnitude of what Lillian was telling. Adam, looking between Stella and Lillian, expressed his amazement. "It's an incredible story. Hard to believe all of this." With a voice choked by emotion, Stella said, "I never imagined something like this could be happening in my life. It's a lot to take in." Lillian, with tear-filled eyes, agreed, "I know, my dear, it's a shock for all of us." She then added, "Despite everything he did, I arranged for your father to be taken to a care facility. There he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and will spend the rest of his life there." Adam, trying to better understand the situation, asked, "You did that even after everything he did to you and to Stella?" Lillian sighed deeply and responded, "Yes, despite everything, he is a sick human being deserving of compassion. I spent years very angry at him, but today, seeing my daughter here in front of me, the happiness I feel is overwhelming. I can't think of anything bad from here on out." Stella looked at Lillian, a feeling of gratitude mixed with the confusion in her heart. "Thank you for that, Lillian. I'm still trying to understand everything, but I appreciate that you took care of him. Despite everything he did to me, he's still my father." After these revelations and emotional encounters, Stella's life changed radically. She began visiting Lillian's house regularly, and the two made efforts to build the relationship they had lost. During one of her frequent visits to Lillian's house, Stella felt the joy of a new beginning. In a moment of intimate conversation, Lillian expressed her wishes for Stella's future. "You've always been interested in studying more, haven't you, Stella?" she asked, serving tea on the spacious house's porch. Stella, with a hopeful glint in her eyes, replied, "Yes, I've always dreamed of studying architecture, but I never had the opportunity." Lillian smiled warmly. "Well, I think it's time to make that dream come true. I want you to enroll in the best architecture school in the country. I will take care of everything." Stella was speechless for a moment, moved. "Would you do that for me? I don't even know how to thank you," she said, tears of gratitude forming in her eyes. Lillian reached across the table and held Stella's hand. "After everything we've lost, it's the least I can do, and there's more," Lillian continued. "I'm building a room for Hannah here at the house. I will be there for every moment of her growth, something I unfortunately missed with you." Stella, now openly crying, felt a mix of happiness and relief. "That means so much to me, Lillian. Hannah will love having a grandmother like you." In one of the many warm encounters between Stella and Lillian, the conversation took a deeply emotional turn. While Hannah played in the garden, Lillian confided in Stella, "My biggest dream after finding you would be to be called Mother by you, but I understand that all this is very recent and I respect your time. I will do whatever I can to deserve that title." Stella, touched by Lillian's words, responded sincerely, "You are already doing so much, Lillian. I appreciate every gesture. I'm sure we will become even closer." As time passed, their relationship naturally and organically strengthened. Stella made regular visits to Lillian's house, where Hannah loved spending time. The little girl, completely comfortable in Lillian's presence, filled the house with her laughter and joy, creating a family atmosphere that had long been absent in the lives of Lillian and Stella. Several years passed, and with Stella's architecture studies nearing completion, the big day of graduation finally arrived. Having faced many challenges and overcome numerous adversities, she was about to celebrate a significant milestone in her life. The graduation ceremony was packed with teachers, family members, and friends, all gathered to witness Stella's success. As she walked down the aisle toward the stage, Stella felt a mix of pride and gratitude. Her eyes scanned the audience, looking for three special people: her husband, who had always supported her unconditionally; her father-in-law, who had become a constant father figure in her life; and of course Lillian, her biggest supporter in architecture. Stepping onto the stage, Stella looked out at the audience and began her speech. "Today I'm here not just because of my own efforts, but also thanks to the invaluable support of some very special people," she said, her voice full of emotion. She continued, "My husband, who has always stood by my side, encouraging me to reach my goals; my father-in-law, who welcomed me as a daughter and gave me strength in difficult times." Then, her eyes found Lillian, and she paused for a moment before saying, "And of course, my dear mother, Lillian. "Mom, you gave me more than a chance to study. You gave me a home, love, and the family I always wished for." Stella's words deeply touched everyone present, but especially Lillian, who could not contain her tears. She covered her face with her hands, moved by hearing the word "Mom" from Stella. When Stella finished her speech, Lillian was visibly moved, tears streaming down her face. Stella's words, calling her mother, touched her heart in a way she had never experienced. She felt a wave of love, gratitude, and a profound sense of fulfillment. The years of searching, the pain of separation, and the uncertainty had finally given way to a moment of pure joy and connection. After the ceremony ended, Lillian approached Stella, away from the hustle and bustle of the graduation ceremony. Tears shimmered in Lillian's eyes as she began to speak, her voice choked with emotion. "My dear daughter, for so many years my heart was incomplete. A vital part of me was lost. I always knew deep inside that this day would come, the day I could finally see you grow. See the incredible woman you have become." Stella, still absorbing the intensity of the moment, listened attentively, clutching her mother's hands between her own. Lillian continued, "When you were taken from me, a somber silence took over my life. I fought every day, not just to find you, but to keep the flame of hope alive. And today, here, seeing you as a graduate so strong and radiant that hope has turned into reality." There was a gentleness in Lillian's voice as she spoke about the years of separation. "All these years, I imagined what it would be like to hug you again, to touch your face, to laugh and cry with you. I missed so many moments, so many milestones that a mother should share with her daughter. But now looking at you, I see that every tear and every prayer was worth it. You are my miracle, Stella." Stella, moved by the depth of her mother's words, whispered, "Mom, I missed you every day, even without knowing who you were. There was an emptiness, a space that nothing could fill until today." Lillian nodded, her own emotions mirrored in her daughter's eyes. "I know, my daughter, and no matter the years we lost, we will create new memories together. Life has given us a second chance, and I will be here for every step you take." The two embraced tightly, a hug that sealed years of distance and solidified their relationship. "You completed me in a way I never imagined possible," whispered Lillian. Stella, looking at Lillian, responded, "Mum, you've shown me the true meaning of family and love. I am so grateful for everything." They left the graduation ceremony hand in hand, feeling renewed and filled with hope for the future. Both knew that from that moment on their lives would be immensely happier. Their story was a testament to the fact that maternal love overcomes all barriers and that a mother never gives up on her child no matter what life throws in their way. If you've enjoyed this tale, I encourage you to show your appreciation by hitting the like button and become part of our community by subscribing to the channel. Your encouragement motivates us to keep delivering exciting stories nearly every day. Make sure you don't miss the next incredible story that is currently being displayed on your screen. We deeply appreciate your support. See you soon.